I'm James Walker, and this is Real Talk, Real People. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. I was thinking, I have a sister who is renovating an old farmhouse down in the rural section of Virginia. And yet she always seems to be able to come up with these great meals in this kitchen that is an absolute disaster while they're renovating. There's sheetrock or whatever they call that stuff where they put up new walls and insulation and all of that stuff. But somehow or another, she manages to come up with meals that just leave us salivating when she talks to us while on Zoom. So I thought it would be good to get her on the show because there are a lot of people who don't have a lot of counter space and so forth. And I thought it would be good if she got on the show and showed us how she's able to whip up these good meals in this kitchen that is under renovation. Let's get her on the show.
Hey, James.
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much, not too much. Thanks for having me on today.
And what are you cooking for us? And how are you getting it done in that? See, I could not do that. I know you guys are renovating and there's stuff all around and so forth. And I walk into my kitchen and even though it's nothing's there but the stove and the counters, I still can't put together a meal. So I'm really kind of anxious to see how you're going to put this together. So what are you doing today?
Today, I'm making something that I was introduced to as Doritha bread. This recipe came to me about 30 years ago from my best friend in the world, Ambrosia, and it was her Aunt Doritha's recipe. We gigged, we were singers back in the day, and so Saturday night we were out late, Sunday morning, we wanted something to eat for dinner. We were probably broke because we didn't make much money gigging.
And a little high.
And we were still a little hungover. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So we wanted something hearty. We wanted something that wasn't going to take a long time. And we wanted something that was really delicious. And so Ambrosia says, I'm going to make my Aunt Doritha bread. I said, what is that? And she said, girl, it's cornbread with ground beef, and we're going to have some fried cabbage on the side. So flash forward 30 some odd years later, here I am making Doritha bread. Basically, it's a ground meat, seasoned, cooked down with a cornbread topping. So I've added a little bit of this and a little bit of that to it. So it's a little different from her aunt, but the basic recipe is the same. I've heard this thing called tamale bread or tamale pie. I've heard it called cornbread casserole. So it's not, different people call it different things, but the basics are cornbread and ground meat.
When you had told me about this recipe before, my biggest concern was I'm looking at ground beef and all the grease and because you're adding onions and peppers and so forth. And I've always thought, I said, wait, doesn't that mean it's wet at the bottom? But you're saying it's not wet at the bottom.
It's not, because at the bottom of the cornbread is the ground beef, which you actually want to be, juicy and succulent. You don't want it dried out and hard. But what doesn't happen is you don't get a lot of the oil or the drippings up into the cornbread. You'll see it bubble up a little bit, but it really isn't a greasy, heavy type of dish. It's not mushy. It's not, you would like it.
The thing I was a little concerned about was, I know you moved down into this farmhouse and you're doing all this renovation. And I wondered if all your urban cooking skills are not now moving over to these rural cooking skills. But at any rate, how do you go about making it? How do you go about making it?
Okay, so what I have here is about a pound and a half of ground beef. You can use any ground meat. You can use ground turkey, ground chicken, ground pork, whatever you have on hand. That's the other good thing about this. most of the ingredients here, people already have in their homes. Most people have some type of ground meat. They have flour, they have cornmeal, they have eggs. So it's a pretty cool go-to recipe when you don't feel like running out to the supermarket or you can't get out to the supermarket. The shelves are bare, COVID, pandemic, we see a lot of that. So I'm going to season this ground beef with salt and pepper, and you can season this to your taste. So there's a little salt, a little pepper. I use black pepper. You can use whatever you'd like. I'm going to mix this together. And I have my frying pan heating. So I'm going to run over to the frying pan and I'm going to put my peppers and my onions in to start getting them cooked down and getting them a little soft.
Okay. Am I going to be able to smell that from here?
Yes, you will. You most certainly will be able to smell this from here. Because we down here in Scottsburg, Virginia, have invented smell-o-vision.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's on the meat. I'm going to let this cook until the peppers and the onions just get a little soft. Maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe. And remember, we're baking this, so nothing has to be super, super done because this is going to go into the oven for about 25-30 minutes. So while that's cooking, I'm mixing this up.
Yes, so that I noticed you're mixing with a spatula. Is that because you're being recorded? Would you normally use your hands?
Because really what I would be doing is getting my very, very super clean hands in this and then washing them at the sink. But since I'm being recorded, I don't want to keep dashing over to the sink and, that kind of thing. So get your clean hands in there, mix it up really well. I can hear the peppers and the onions frying, which is nice. I'm going to give them a stir.
So I see you have that white wall to put up there. That's what that is back there, right? The white wall for the kitchen walls?
Oh, yeah, this is sheetrock.
Sheetrock or whatever you call it.
This is sheetrock. What we've done actually is we pulled out, we had that old 1970s panel ling.
Yes.
I couldn't live with it. So I decided that I needed to change the kitchen up. So we pulled all the paneling down, pulled the old sheetrock out, wired it again, insulated it, and we're waiting to put the sheetrock up. That should be happening at any given time.
At any time. Well, I noticed that you have, it looks like a real farmhouse because you have like those bins back there. You actually, it actually reminds me of something from like the 1800s or 1900s when people, in rural communities, that's how they stored their food.
Well, let me tell you, this is a lifesaver. And it's just a wooden frame with multiple bins, but I don't have a lot of cabinet and a lot of cabinet space here. So I saw this and I thought this would be a great place to store my onions, my garlic. I have nuts, I have bananas here, potatoes, ginger. I keep my dried beans down there in these bins, my root vegetables. I keep all of that stuff in there. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in, the ground beef, into the frying pan.
Now, does it matter what kind of seasoning you put in the beef? I mean, if like I'm a huge garlic fan, does it matter if I put a lot of garlic in there or a lot of cumin in there or anything like that? Can you use any kind of seasoning you want?
You can add all or any of these seasonings. I'm throwing my garlic in now.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you do have garlic there. Okay, good.
Oh yeah, I don't want to put the garlic in with the peppers and the onions because the garlic, it's fragile. It tends to burn.
Yes,
so I
you're
don't
right.
want it
Yeah.
to burn. So this is cooking nicely.
Okay. And so how long do you cook that?
We're going to cook this for about 5 minutes, just until it starts to brown.
Right.
We don't want it cooked all the way because it's going to go into the oven. We want it just past pink.
Okay.
So about 5 minutes or so, and I have it on a medium heat. So it'll brown up pretty quickly. And while
Okay.
it's doing that, I'm going to start the cornbread.
Okay. And so you're making your own cornbread.
I am making my own cornbread. And
Okay.
I know people say, oh, that's an extra step you really don't need. I prefer my own cornbread, and it's really, really simple. We're going to use 2/3 of a cup of fine ground yellow cornmeal, whatever brand you like. I have 1 cup of self-rising flour. I have 1 cup of sugar because I like it a little sweet.
So you can adjust the sugar to
You can
your
adjust the
desired
sugar.
sweetness.
If you want to add sugar, you can. Most commercial brands are already sort of sweet.
Right.
So if you were using a boxed mix, you probably wouldn't add sugar. I always do. My mother always did. So I add sugar. I'm going to add a pinch of salt to this,
Okay.
just a pinch. Whenever you're using sugar and baking and things like that, you need salt. I'm just going to combine it. I have 3 eggs that are cracked separately in a bowl because you don't want to get a bad egg in your mix. I'm just going to whip them together real quick and add them to the mix. I have 1/4 of a cup of butter. You can use oil. You can use lard, whatever you choose. You can use in that. There is no liquid in this other than what you see me putting in. There's no milk, there's no water, nothing like that. And the last thing I'm going to add to this is sour cream.
Okay.
I have 1 cup of sour cream.
Now is that
And
like
this
replacing the milk or something like that? Because
is
I know
replacing the milk. Yes,
right. Because I
it's
know if you make
replacing the
Jiffy,
milk.
you need like a 1/4 cup of milk or 1/2 cup of milk or
Yep.
something like that. So the sour cream replaces the milk. But what does that do to the cornbread? Does it give it added flavor
Gives it a little bit of a little tiny bit of a tang, just a little bit, and it adds a lightness to it. It adds a lightness to this cornbread, I find. So I'm just going to stir this up to combine it. And it looks in the beginning like you might need liquid, like, oh God, I really need to add some milk or water. But this is what it looks like once you stir it.
Okay.
So no additional liquid needed. I'm going to check on my ground beef. And while I'm over there, I'm going to add my adobo chilies and my chipotle chilies and adobo sauce, and my 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. That's going in the pot with the ground beef.
I got you. No, I know it really sounds like it's really simple. It's like a simple recipe, but
it really is.
I mean, but what if you don't want to add the adobe and so forth and so on? What if do you need the chili peppers, or can you like substitute like hot seeds or something like that, or are the seasonings totally up to you?
The seasonings are totally up to you.
Okay.
I've made this before. I've omitted the chipotle peppers and added just the tomato paste and a little maybe Tabasco sauce. It depends on what your taste is. Some people don't like heat.
Yeah, that's true.
Like heat.
And I love heat. It can't get spicy enough
too.
for me. You know that. It can't get
The
spicy enough for me.
The better it is for me. So if you wanted to add some crushed seed to this, perfectly fine. If you wanted to omit it, that's good too. That's the wonderful thing about this recipe. My brother Alan, our brother makes this all the time.
Yeah, I know he does.
And
he does puts all kind of stuff in.
Oh yeah, he layers it with cabbage and vegetables.
I know every time he talks about it, it just doesn't sound good to me, but everybody who eats it raves about it. So I just didn't think cornbread and a hamburger mix would taste very good, but everybody who eats it loves it. So, I know it's me, but you know how I am. I'm a funny eater.
It's your wonky taste buds. I'm making a mess over here, which is generally how I do it. I haven't quite learned how to behave on camera yet.
That's okay. You're doing fine. So
So
once that is cooked down, what are you going to do with that?
if it's really, really saucy, I'll drain it. If not, I'll leave it. You want a little moisture, but you don't want a whole lot.
So you recommend draining it after you cook, depending on how much
Moisture level.
right.
Yep. There's not a lot of excess moisture in that. So I'm going to leave it as it is. So that's pretty much ready to go into the baking pan. I have a 2-quart casserole dish.
Okay.
Again, use whatever you have in your house. This is about utilizing what you have in your house with the space that you have. So I'm going to take our ground beef mixture. You don't have to cool it or anything like that. I'm going to pull it off the heat, and I'm going to add it to the casserole dish, just like that. I'm getting old. These cast iron pans are heavy.
You like using a cast iron pan?
I do.
Okay.
I really do. If they cook really well, they hold heat really well. They're heavy, but if you take care of them, they last forever.
Mm-hmm.
They just last forever. So the ground beef is in the pan. I have here about a cup of cheese. This is one of the deviations from Aunt Doretha's bread.
Okay, and what kind of cheese are you using?
I'm going to sprinkle some cheese. I have a mixture of shredded mozzarella and an extra sharp cheddar.
Okay.
But again, you can use a Colby, you can use a pepper jack, whatever you'd like. And I use the mozzarella because I like the stringiness, the pull of it. It melts really well. So that's in. And the cornbread goes on top of it.
Okay. Now, do you have to smooth? I guess you have to smooth out the cornbread mixture and so forth.
Not really.
Oh, okay. So just pour it on and that's it. Oh, okay.
You see, it just kind of moves itself. I give it a little shake. And then I'm going to pop it into a 400-degree oven. I preheated it. The oven's nice and hot. This is going to cook in about 25 minutes on the center shelf. Once you see it start to bubble and get a little brown after about 25 minutes, you can pull it out, set it on the top, let it finish browning. 5 minutes, pull it out. You can let it cool. You can serve it room temperature. You can serve it piping hot. So
it sounds good. It sounds good so far. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Well, give me 25 minutes and I'm going to blow your socks off.
So pop it into that oven.
Going in now.
Okay, while she's doing that, folks, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. I just want to kind of remind you that we want subscribers. We do have a lot of people who listen to this podcast, but we want you to subscribe. And we would appreciate it if you do like our content that you hit that subscribe button and subscribe to this podcast. And for those of you who listen on anchor.fm, there's a support button there. And we would certainly appreciate it if you hit that support button and support this podcast. Meanwhile, let's get back to Chimene and find out what is the end result of Aunt Doretha's bread. Let's go. Okay, we're back with Chimene. Let's see what she has in store for us.
Ta-da! That's hot. This is the Doretha bread.
Well, it looks good, actually. It looks like a cake.
As you can see, nope, that's the browning from the butter and from the chipotle peppers and that sort of thing. And this is what it looks like when you cut it. See, not soggy, nothing like that.
Well, it looks good, I have to say, but it actually, you know what it looks like to me? Like, let me take off my glasses and see if I can zoom in with my eye. It looks like it looks like one of those tuxedo cakes, like chocolate on top,
Ah,
vanilla cake in the bottom, but it looks
uh-huh.
good. It actually does.
This is delicious. And for you who has a problem with that whole soggy thing, that's not what it does. That cake cooks nice. That cornbread cooks really nicely. Springy, not soggy at all. You don't have a whole lot of juice running down the plate. It's beautiful.
And what's all that stuff there?
So this is really good, just like it is. I eat this just plain, but on occasion, I get a little extra and I like to add things. So I have sour cream. I have some shredded cheese. I have some chopped scallion, cilantro, and some assorted hot peppers.
And you put and so what do? You just put like a dollop on the side, or all right. But for people who don't have all that in their cupboard, you don't really need that, right? Those are just things that
You don't need this.
You're using that just for your own personal taste. But the
Right.
actual Doretha bread stands on its own.
Just on its own. I mean, when you use the sour cream in the cornbread, you use the cheese on top of the ground beef mixture. If you don't have onions or scallions or cilantro, you don't need any of this, but this is nice. It makes it, I don't know, it just makes it nice and fun to eat. You can choose your toppings. If your kids like sour cream or cheese, they can put it on there. Wait a minute, I gotta taste it. Hold on, I gotta taste it. It cuts really nicely. I'm gonna taste it without first. I'm telling you, this is so good. You
Well,
get the sweet and the salty. You're getting a little sweet from the cornbread and a little saviness, a little saltiness from the ground beef. You can taste the onions and the pepper, the chipotle pepper in it. It's delicious. So now I'm going to taste it with the pepper. I like hot peppers.
Well, I guess I should say that I wish that's what did you call it, smellorama, that you guys invented down there, because it does look good, and I'm sure it smells delicious. I'm sure that it just looks like it, the aroma would just light up a kitchen.
The whole kitchen smells good. You can smell that smokiness from the chipotle peppers, and it just tastes good. It tastes really good. It's a very satisfying, quick meal. 30 minutes or so, you can have this on the table. You can serve it with a salad. You can serve it with a side of your vegetable of choice. You can eat this for dinner. This can be something that you can prepare early in the day and reheat it. It's a no-brainer.
It's very versatile too. Well, Chimene, we thank you for coming on the show today and sharing your expertise. I know that you are a great cook. I know that. Our whole family knows that, and hopefully you'll be able to spread some of that expertise with people who are listening or watching this episode. So listen,
I would love to. I would love to. This has been fun. Thank you, James, for having me on. I appreciate it. And I'm going to send you the recipe.
Okay, and next time you have something interesting to cook, we'll have you back on.
That sounds like a plan. I'm working it out.
All right, listen, have a good day. Talk to you soon.